Anyone use Google Apps scripts before?
No. Nice.
All right. Brand new things.
That's always the best to introduce.
No expectations.
Right? No one can judge me on it.
You're doing it wrong.
All right, so I'm William. I work at UT, the Uber SK Telecom joint venture. This is pretty much all the programming I get to do nowadays because, yeah. So we're Google Apps Script is an awesome tool that allows you to modify existing applications that Google has to add increased functionalities, interact with APIs, and build essentially mini applications that interact with Google's cloud infrastructure really well. So a lot of times what I use it for is manipulating Google Sheets to generate reports and to send automated emails or to write my own custom Sheets functions to do more advanced things in Sheets. The custom user interfaces, add-ons, and it's really good for whenever you want to do a large task with data and not make mistakes, because you can make sure that it's done inside the code and you're not trying to copy paste or try to do like your own like formulas, because like I don't know if you ever use like VLOOKUP and things like that. They have inaccuracies, they have issues. And so when you can interact with the actual cell data itself, build arrays, and then interact with those arrays, you can do way more cool stuff. All right. So a lot of these slides, because I'm running a class at my work, so a lot of this stuff is for people who don't know anything about programming. So a lot is going to be repetitive for us. So we'll go a little bit faster. But to get started, you can go directly to the scripts URL, or just open Sheets and then go to Extensions, Add Script, and they'll open up their web browser-based IDE. Probably be best to go to a new sheet and then click Extensions and App Script. I think all the code we're going to be reading today is interacting with Google Sheets. I kind of want to see if we're actually live or not while you guys are doing that. Well, I don't know where the YouTube channel is, so I don't know if we're live or not.
I put the link on the Discord channel.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right, let me try that. Oh, do you see it working or?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's always nice when stuff works. All right, so comments are basically exactly like JavaScript, // same with variables. You're just declaring with var, naming it, and then what's contained inside of it. So let's go ahead and make our first function, which we'll just declare. Let me see. So your function is how you start any type of new action that you want to happen inside of Google Apps Script, something that you want to be able to call within the script itself. So just do function, my function, logger, which is how you interact with the log. So it'll put it out to the terminal inside the developer. I'm just going to output hello world. This is also a really good first test because anytime that you run an app script, it does a bunch of user permission warnings and stuff like that. And sometimes I've had it be like, are you sure you trust yourself? It's not safe. And then like it takes a little bit to get past that. So I want to make sure everyone can execute this into their IDE first before we move on. What's up, man? Oh, good car. I'll let you get it. So, were you able to run it in Google Sheets?
Is what would be the run? Is there a run button? Oh, my run button's not saved.
Yeah, just first. Yeah, there we go. I'm trying to run it. It should have like a pop-up sometimes. Sometimes it's great. Oh, okay, cool. You're trusting yourself right away.
Cool.
Yeah, here's one right away.
Hello.
There's pants in that.
I can move.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Oh, those are not pants. Those are like. That makes no sense. You have to save it first.
Custard is. Where is my custard?
Oh, the custard would.
Yeah. I love to type in the right position. The custard is going the wrong way. I'm looking at the other classes.
I recommend opening sheets and then doing extensions script. So that way, when we interact with that active sheet, we can do stuff. Because then, like, trying to, like, yeah, because we're going to use a lot of, like, what is called, like, get active sheet commands, and it's just easier if there's an active sheet that we're interacting with.
Yeah.
We cannot use maximum low brightness. How do you do it, man? You didn't notice? You got bad eyes or something. That's a pretty good showing. And then B shows up, that's 8. Only 9 people signed up, so that's really good. It's like 90% attendance. So it's best, huh?
Oh, I said hi.
Oh, hi. It's best to open like Google Sheets and then extensions, app script, and then put this code in. Sometimes it yells at you to like trust yourself. Sometimes it runs right away. Yeah, you don't have a business account, so it's like, yeah. If you have an enterprise account like with your company, executions are like way faster. But the free users, they're like, yeah.
So Google Sheets and then AppScript extension.
Extensions and app script. Yeah, and then try this function and see if it will output into the console hello world.
Okay.
Does that do you ever run? Who doesn't have experience with JavaScript? Everyone else has experience with JavaScript. Well, hopefully it goes advanced enough. But yeah. Does it work?
Oh, logging in.
Oh, okay. I gotta fill time somehow, so let's wait.
Okay.
Okay. All right, some of the functions that we're going to be playing with is we have get data range, which is really important. This method retrieves all the data in a sheet that you can call by name or by whatever the active sheet is. And then you can use set values, where you can actually programmatically create the values inside cells within sheets. You can do send email commands, which will just literally just send out an email, which is pretty cool. And also get labels. So you could get every single label for every email in your inbox, or you could programmatically create labels and destroy labels as necessary. So like I use it to programmatically control my labels inside Gmail as well. So it's pretty cool. The documentation is here. It goes really deep into a lot of the APIs and stuff. Honestly, the way they write up their API documentation is horrible. It's very hard to understand what the hell they're talking about. Now, for normal functions, they give examples. It's really great. But it feels like API documentation was written for other Google engineers, not for external people. But you stare at it long enough, you're like, wait, maybe I got it. But yeah. All right, so we have an active sheet. So what we're doing here is we're creating a function, giving it a name, and then we're just creating a variable that we're just calling sheet and then giving it a value. And so this is pulling from the spreadsheet app, getting the active spreadsheet that you have active, and then getting the active sheet. So you could also do by URL. So every sheet has a URL, and you can give it to this program, and it will pull the permissions based off of the URL and then pull the data into it as well. So you can interact with as many spreadsheets as you want within a single function as well. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, the annoying thing is when you forget to put like active sheet or whatever, and then it just like pulls from like a random other sheet, or you have to declare to the sheet level, because if you don't, it will just pull the whole spreadsheet and it won't do the next steps properly. Yeah, and then at this point, we're just going to get name, which is a built-in functionality, and then it will output the name of the sheet. So you can use it as like a testing to figure out where you are, how your program is interacting with Google Sheets, and you're on the actual right one.
Sorry, a little bit late to the party, but the first function was just kind of like the initial thing.
Just hello world, yeah.
And then this is kind of getting the sheets like in the system.
Right. So if you have, okay, yeah, you opened the untitled spreadsheet and then you clicked extensions app script, right?
I opened the app script one first, and then it was the same, so I just put it here.
Oh, you just dragged it over, or oh no, you just okay. It should be able to. It likes it because I think when it does here, it hides it better. I'm not sure. Let's try it. Let's try it here. Try running it there. It should know that you have an active sheet and do it correctly, but we'll see. I know their built-in browser-based IDE is like kind of meh.
Does it just run every top level function?
It will. It'll show when you press run. It should do all top level functions. You want to do a test since you got it first?
Yeah, let's see what it works.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no.
No, it's not logging out the active sheet, so it's not finding an active sheet for you. There we go.
So you do get to choose.
And then, there we go. Yeah, so you choose the top level function at the top.
Okay. So, but I could probably just put like this inside here.
Yeah, you could put it all inside one function and then choose one function. Yeah, so at the top of the IDE, it has a little drop down that you select which function you want to run the test from. So you drop it down and choose get active sheet name, and then you could run this test, and you should get back sheet 1 or whatever like sheet you have. Yeah, you got the pop up of like, do you want to trust me? And it says like scary things. Yeah, just say I'm okay to be. That's your email address, right? Yes. So just click I'm okay, and then continue and say, and then say it's they. I think they have that for people who like copy and paste programs from like online, and it can be dangerous. Okay, so open a Google Sheets. Just press a new tab and open a Google Sheets and have it open. Let's see if it will register it automatically.
With the execute this code, I got it in R1 from Google.
Yes, so just go to the bottom left, you'll say like unsafe or something, or like continue, the little gray text, and then unsafe. Okay, so now try running the code again. Let's try. Okay, let's see. It might be angry because this is not pulling from the. That's just the easiest way to get the script to be tied to the spreadsheet. You're actually doing. Were you able to? Who wasn't able to pull up the sheet name from the code? You weren't able to. Okay. Yeah, so it's probably. So what we're going to do is we're going to just automatic. We're just going to do it from like we did over here. We're going to just have it tied directly into it, so it doesn't get too much because you have to like link the script to the from like the big IAD. You can go back to here and then have the script and then tie it to that Excel. So we're not going to worry about that. So 6 extensions, add scripts. It opens up a new one.
The chair.
Oh, okay.
And then it should be it. And I have this. Yeah, click advanced. And then go. And then, so it's more to protect people who don't know about the code and they're copying code from the internet that they don't know. Because this can be dangerous. It could steal all your information. If you go to Google and you're just finding some random code and putting it in there, it could access all of your stuff on your entire Google account. So it's important to really know what you're putting into here.
Can we trust you that you won't steal all of our data?
Read the JavaScript, you should be okay. You shouldn't trust anyone. If I was untrustworthy, would I tell you? Anyone else have any issues running that?
I cannot get the name.
You cannot get the name.
Name and name.
Go to your oh, it's not pulling a sheet name. Sheet name, get sheet name. Name is code's running fine, no errors. it should be. It doesn't make it the sheet name.
Oh, maybe corn. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, typos. That's like the bane of all programmers. All right, so now we're gonna go. This is cool. So what this does, this function is a known like Google functionality, which is called onOpen. That's like that's not a function. Like if you make it called onFunction, it's will run as soon as the spreadsheet opens. It's not. It's like a special name. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a variable called UI, and we're getting the UI of the spreadsheet app, and we're going to add a menu into Google Sheets. So we can add our own custom buttons inside the UI of Google Sheets directly, which is pretty cool. And so let's see if we can get a custom menu loaded in. So a lot of these, like a little bit of an annoying part is everything has like very specific names, like add to UI, like that's a Google, like they wrote this function. So you have to like learn their names of functions to be able to interact with their apps. So yeah, so like create menu, all these are pre-existing functions. So it's not very fun code to write at this point, but once we start making menu items, then it gets pretty cool.
Is a menu item kind of like a drop down?
Yeah, so doing this will create a menu called custom menu. So that's, yeah, so you're creating the menu here, and then this is adding the items. This is making a line, so a line within the menu, and then the next one. So this is technically an optional. You could put it at the top and the bottom, but it just makes like a nice separator line. And this is creating a sub menu to allow you to see the different types of menus that you can create. So like this one will just be, when you click on it, it'll just have the drop down and that will be there. And the next one should be, say, sub menu, and then you hold your mouse over that and that has another option inside called second item. So that's just to kind of teach you the structure possible of interacting with menus. I can't type that fast on my keyboards, they're too small. Let's put it over here. Sorry. So if you just run it, it should automatically just add without reloading the spreadsheet, it will add that new menu. Or if you reload the spreadsheet, it'll take a second and then the menu will appear. Right. That's it. Well, on-open runs whether or not you select it. I think. Does it go to the untitled spreadsheet? Is the menu there? Oh no, okay, you have to.
So that just spells into your comment.
Set up menu.
Oh, I see. I'm not changing it. This, because yeah, so I added something and I just treated this, I wrapped this whole thing in a column, but this is being chained onto that line.
Yeah.
So it should be included inside there.
Right, or tabbed over.
So, no.
I think you have to save it.
I just have done this, but nothing
Yeah,
happened.
there we go.
Yeah, well, go back to your sheet. Does it have a menu? Could your sheet does have a menu? Nice. Let's see. Nothing happened. Okay, so when you have to actually do that, if you don't reload the. Okay, so you got an error. Type error. You have something misspelling or something.
Oh,
I think that
capital.
yeah. Now save and run again. There we go. Go back to you. I have a menu. Pretty cool, right?
So when we were running before, you chose the active sheet name, but I'm not sure like how this running thing works. So here right now, after writing the code, did I just go down to the last one?
No, just on open. And then just run.
You don't need to save.
Yeah, save.
And also this one, do I have to like choose the one that I just wrote or?
So when you're on open, since if you just reload the spreadsheet, it will run it. It will automatically run the command called on open.
It didn't work. So let's see.
Yeah, see, custom menu.
Oh, in the toolbar.
Yeah, you can. So in the toolbar, you can create menu items, and then these buttons will launch scripts within.
Oh, okay.
So these are quick. That allows you to add a script menu to your spreadsheet.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool. And you can have it programmatically create new sheets with already pre-filled data, pre-filled formulas. You can do all types of cool stuff.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I came in late. Already.
Okay, so it's easier if you start with Google Sheets and then go to extensions and then add the Google Apps script and then put the code in there.
So you open up Google Sheets first.
Yeah, like open up like Google Sheets first. You just go to Drive or something. I would just add the and then sheet. And inside of this menu, and then extensions, and then apps script. And so that will make an app script that's linked to this one. You can do it another way, but it's it didn't seem to. There it goes. So just take your code from there and paste it. Control Shift T to open the previously closed tab.
Control Shift T.
Again. And then just go to that tab and copy all your code over. Save it and so go back to here. And then go to the drop down. Right there. And go to click it and go to unopen. And then it might have a few permissions and then advanced. Oh, advanced after this. Advanced. And then continue. Now, I got a warning I gave, like if you're copying code online, you have to be very careful because they can get a lot of access with that permissions that you just gave. So if you go back to your spreadsheet, you now have a custom one. Did you only know what you can share? And you guys got the menu going? Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right, I got my menu going too. Okay, so let's make a menu item that checks cell values and will automatically color them based off of their value. So what we're doing here is, again, declaring sheet to the app that exists and getting the active sheet. And then we're giving a range, and we're just going to get the range of the entire sheet. And then we're going to get the values of the entire range. So we could shrink this data range to be very specific, like only this range. But here we're going to just be like all of it, the entire sheet. And then this, we're going to get all the values of the entire sheet and put them into an array. And then we're going to test that, the length of that array. And so we're declaring a couple like junk variables that we're just using to make loops to go through every single value. And if it gets to a cell that the value is yes, you'll set the background to green. If it gets to one that says no, you'll set it to red. Does it make sense?
I think some of the stuff that is being explained, I don't really understand, like just without seeing it. Yeah.
No problem. So, we're declaring the variables here, and these are hard to read and understand because they are using the documentation of that Google gives to. These are like predetermined names, like so. These do specific things within the Google app world. So we're declaring sheet and we're declaring range, but the get data range, that's just a pre-existing function that Google wrote, and we're interacting with that function.
Okay, so there's already data that's going to be pulled.
We're declaring this variable sheet. So sheet is a chosen name that we did. We chose the word sheet, and then we're talking to the app, the spreadsheet app, and then we're running this function, which is a Google function, to get the active sheet that's open, that you have open. Then we're passing that information over to here. So it's saying, okay, so get the active sheet that we have open by using the sheet. So it essentially, technically this is all like nested statements. So we're getting the active sheet, and then we're saying that active sheet, get the data range inside of there. And then inside of that range, get the values and call it to values. So it's like this is referenced here, and then here is referenced in there. So it's kind of nested, Russian nesting dolls.
Okay, I think I get that, like,
That part of it.
no, just that without the data there, we're just writing the function right now.
We're writing the function. The data, it reads the spreadsheet for the data. So it pulls this, what this code does is it pulls all the values from your active sheet. So whatever is inside your sheet right now is null values. You have a sheet full of null values, so nothing will happen. But we're going to add some stuff so you can see it run. Do you need me to break down these for loops as well?
No, I think
It's okay.
Like even
I have pre-written notes to explain every line of this code.
actually even the one before
The one before?
yeah, I was trying to understand why there's like a comma separating first menu and menu item 1, but I think I get it now.
Okay. I'm sorry, everybody. 1 second. You're talking about here?
The one above, like
This one?
yeah, because like when I look at it, like there, under the custom menu, there's first item and then sub menu.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was wondering, okay.
So this is the add item is a pre-made Google function. The first value is the name, and the second value is the function that you're going to be running. So this first item could be whatever you want to name it. This is up to you. This one has to be a function that exists. So the menu item 1 has to match here. So if you change this to, test, then this would also have to say test. Otherwise, this would do nothing. It might even give an error saying that test doesn't exist.
Yeah, and here menu item 1 is a function of what?
So menu item 1 is this function here.
Code for first menu item.
So because there's no code there right now. That's what this is taking the place of this. So this is just saying function menu item 1, nothing inside. It's blank. Nothing happens. When it runs, nothing happens. And so this is just creating an item in the menu called first item and then running this big nothing sandwich. Nothing happens. And then this one is, the name is second item inside of this submenu. So we're declaring the submenu, tabbing over to add an item within that submenu, and then calling it second item menu 2. So if you just press enter again, did add item, you could just add another third item, menu item 3. If you pressed enter and moved it over again and did add item, it would be outside of the submenu again. So this is just like creating the menu structure. And then once we do that, we do add to UI to send that menu directly to the UI.
Okay, but even though the functions are empty, like we could see the drop-down menu items.
That's correct.
So the variable over there, like it already creates that for us?
You're talking about this menu item 1 or the name?
Just the custom menu itself, like you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, we're using Google's pre-made functions. So like Google has this create menu function. So when it's running on open, we're getting the UI of the spreadsheet application and then creating a menu within it. So these are named commands from Google to do these things.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't have to like really programmatically say, all right, this menu item here, in HTML, you'd have to be a lot more declarative about your menu. Like, this is where I'm going to put it. Like, this is how it looks. But because you're interacting within an existing application, you're just adding items to something that already exists. So this is the way Google wrote their scripts, their functions, to be able to add UI elements.
Makes sense.
It does make more sense. Yeah, like create menu is only used for creating menus. And yeah, if you get if you happen to accidentally name one of your functions add separator, it could like technically cause a lot of problems. But like they're very, very well named functions, so like I don't think it shouldn't cause too many problems because also they're like nested. So like add item only works in the context of UI and things like that. So I think if you called this function add item and then called add item, I think it would still run because it's not running within the UI container. I think. I don't know. We can test it.
What happens if I don't add separator function?
This one?
Yeah.
Nothing. You just when you open the menu, there's a little line. That's all that line does. That makes the line. So if you take away separator, there's no more little line between the submenu and the main menu. That's it. It was just to show you that you can make. Yeah, if you // out, save it, and then refresh your spreadsheet, the little line in the menu will disappear. That's it. Again, that's a pre-written Google command to add a line in their menu. All right. So this is the code that we're putting into the previous function that just said code for a first menu item here. We're adding this code into there.
This is it.
I've actually just noticed a shortcoming in my code because let's say the values of the sheets change, like a yes changes to nothing or a no changes to nothing. This won't actually catch that. It'll just leave the background what it used to be. So if you added another else if and the values equal like just two empty quotation marks and then set the background to white, then it should reset the values if, for say, your sheet changed.
I'm not there yet.
Okay, sorry. I'll show you it working there. Yeah, what's up?
Sorry, what's your name?
William.
William. Line. I'm looking at the first logic line. So
This for loop?
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it, and so I should be lower than values dot length, but I increases.
Yes. So this is a loop that's going to run, and so we're starting at 0, so at the very beginning, and then it. Okay, let me. Length. Yeah. So yeah, so as long as I is less than the array's length, then do this functionality, and then also add one more to it. So that means every time this loop, it'll be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, as it goes on and on through this loop. And so we have another nested one inside of there that does the same thing, but for the essentially what we're pulling in is the columns and rows and inside that array, and we're adjusting that so that way we can say the positions inside this range and talk to that specific cell one by one all the way down through.
This function is to check cell value and
Yeah, of the entire sheet.
of the entire sheet, so it would count how many cells there are?
It's checking what is inside of that cell. So here it's saying in this position, if it's equal to the word yes, this exactly, capital Y and everything, then take that and then add the background green to it. And then this one, if it's no, then add the background red. And now I'm trying to add one that says if it's nothing, then fix it, make it back to how it was, but not how it was. That would be harder. More make it white. Did you add a function? How's it working for you?
Cells.
Cool. Does everyone have this copied down? Okay, so let's do some testing. Okay. Oh, that's a hard resolution to see. All right, so you have the custom menu, and if you run first, that script that we just launched will run. And so if we add the value yes, and then the value no, and then custom menu first.
Can you zoom in a little bit on that?
Yeah, maybe.
I think if you use like, yeah, that one.
There you go. So that will automatically highlight yes and no. And now I tried to add it, let's see if it works, where I added another line. Oh, custom menu, first item. Let's see if it goes back to white. It doesn't. Okay. Let's try value null.
I think if it's empty, it's not going to include it in the values array.
Oh, you think it's not going to include the values array? That's it. Okay. But one of the cool things that we can do is we can mix it with another function of Sheets called data validation. So we can add a rule to this option, and we can make it call like a checkbox. And then we can use custom values, and we can say that checked equals yes, and unchecked equals no. And then we can make the checkboxes automatically highlight based off of that. And then when you run your custom menu, it will highlight. It gets a little slow when you have a bunch of values, so trimming off the dead cells at the bottom does make it run faster. But there it goes. Does it all automatically. So you're saying this, okay, yeah, because get values would only return rows that have values. So if I, interesting. So I should be able to then make this. Like that, right?
Well, it still wouldn't have access to that range because it's the cell itself is not included in values. So you won't be running over the cell at all.
Right.
Unless you input something random at the bottom, like below the cell, so that way it includes everything before it. Basically tricking it to get the values. I think because you have the checkboxes in all of them.
Right, it'll be running all of them.
It's considering all of them as having value.
Right, all their values would be no or yes. Yeah. And then 12. And then, so then we just do custom menu. Let's see what happens.
Oh yeah, so the empty cells, I'm not sure what it would say that those are.
No, it'll say no. Well, you're talking about over here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
should
sure
do nothing.
It
It looks like by adding the 12, it exponentially increases the runtime because of how many columns there is, I think.
Did you run all the way? Oh yeah, you run 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000 rows, yeah. So if I delete, 800 rows, the script would run way better. Yeah.
Can I see that again? It's saying
Yeah, sure.
that active sheet function doesn't exist for some reason.
I guess check your capitalization, check your, okay.
If you put a period after the word, it should give you some IntelliSense, and then if it's not there, then the spelling is probably wrong.
That's good. I'm just testing stuff over here. Oh, cool. So if you change, so with the code that I added, so I added some code called, just else if, can I zoom in here too? Of course not. Maybe here. Yeah, so I did a else if. Now again, if the value is null, then it's not added to the range. But if the value changes to something other than yes or no, it goes back to white. So if you had a yes value and you change it to the number 1 or something else, it would change it to white. I think you can do there's another way to get literally just everything on the sheet. But again, because the default's 1,000 rows, it gets really slow to do things like that. So it tries to trim up the data as much as possible. Were you able to get it to highlight yeses and nos?
Yes, so basically using the periods thing.
That helped you?
Yeah.
Well, do you mind telling me what was the mistake?
So the mistake was on the first line, spreadsheets add the pink one, and then periods get active sheet. Your code only capitalized A for active, but it also needed S to capitalize. Oh shit.
That is like the #1 mistake in programming. So don't even fret. I forgot what this bracket and my code didn't work. I was like, what? This should work fine. And I was like, line 30. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, there's another bracket down there. I left a bracket out. It's so easy to. Talking to computers is hard. Is you got it running? Awesome. Anyone have any questions about this code?
I have a
Sure.
question.
What's up?
So I get it turns the yes to green and red to no.
Mhm.
But if I see the var range dot equals sheet dot get data range, what does range inside the variable contained? Is it like array or is it like
Yeah, so we're in the sheets dot. You're talking about the var range equals sheets dot get data range.
yeah? So it contains in the range variable, but is it like array? Or?
It sets it to the range of cells containing data in the active sheet. Yeah, so it's an array. It's I think maybe no. Values does the array. Yeah, values makes the array.
Okay.
So what range does is it trims it down to only cells that have data, and then passes that to values. So what range does is it trims null values, and then values is the final array that of only the cells with values.
So if it's like if the
So you could do sheet dot get values, and that would get the values of the entire sheet. So if you changed values to equal sheet dot get values, I think that should get every single cell's value. But that code would run like incredibly slow because it's 1,000, unless you trimmed it really small, like deleted rows and deleted columns. I think that would work. You want to try?
I think you need to get a range first.
Do you think it forces getting a range?
So you have to choose what cells you want to get, and then get values gives you the values inside those cells.
Right.
And so values here would just be an array of arrays.
okay, so if it's like a column 1 and row 2, then you return if there's a data in column 1 and row 2, then you will return 1, 2 with the data of an array, right?
Yeah. So if it's like 1, 2, the cells 1, 2, and then what 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, like that.
Yeah.
Then it would give you one array, which is 1, 2, and the second array would be 3, 4,
okay.
and then 5, 6.
Yeah.
So you can log it out if you want and see what it looks like too.
Yeah, you could log out values.length and values.length to help you visualize the cells that it's checking.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just going through a two-dimensional array to find to find all the values. I know I've forced it to do an entire sheet before. I'm trying to remember how to get the data range, and we can like force it to be more than the trimmed value. I wonder if there's a code for that. But honestly, you don't want to run code like that because it'll be insanely slow. You just made it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like if the cell is empty, it's like an empty string.
It's an empty string. Right. Okay. And so you're doing a for each loop of the values for each. Okay.
So this is how she. I'm gonna put D here to make it. Yeah. So it considers these as empty strings.
So it detects those, but it's not going to detect E.
Yeah, it's not going to go past that because there's nothing there.
Interesting. So the column just has to contain a value and to get added in.
And since this is the lowest value here and this is the furthest value over here, it's going to give me everything. That's
Interesting. So if you have a value in a column and a value somewhere else, it will include all those columns.
Yeah.
And so even your column that's empty E, it's including that as well. C, like it's including C in that search.
And these are all just empty strings.
Just empty strings. Null does not work. Empty strings specifically. Interesting. Cool. So that's how it's trimming it. So it's not trimming it super intelligently. It's just kind of saying, what's the furthest right, what's the furthest left. It's not making an array of like,
oh yeah, it's not like going in there. Well, because then you wouldn't be able to like iterate over it.
Right.
And
It's probably better. It's better to do it like this. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's. All right. Let's play around with. I think I made one more menu item. Yeah. So I made a second menu item, and so what this is going to do is, let me explain the code. So again, we get the active sheet. We trim it to the values that have data in it, the columns and rows, and then we set a value to those with the values. And now we're going to be creating another one called filtered values. So what this does, this creates a new variable named filtered values and sets it to a new array that includes only the rows that have John or Jane in the first column using the filter method. So this allows us to quickly find column names and yeah, just filter your data based off of what you have told it. Okay.
Question about values dot length. Why is it called like that? Is it a
I don't know why that's white there. Sorry, go ahead.
like value period length, for example?
Oh, like filtered values dot length? Is that what you're talking about? Or over there, values dot length?
Like even before it was used values dot length, and I'm not really.
So that returns how long the array is.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like how long is it, the length of it, and it's using that as a like. I'm struggling to describe it better.
Do you have experience with JavaScript?
No.
Have you used Python?
Yes.
It's like using the len function,
LEN.
the length function.
Oh, okay.
It'll just give you the length of it.
Okay.
But in JavaScript, you put it on the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright.
So if you had
Um,
like a series of words with let's break it down to like a CSV file, or like you had dog, comma, cat, comma, house, and then you said, and that was set to x equals dog, comma, house, comma, cat, and then you did cat dot length, it would return 3.
yeah. Still trying to understand the previous one because I don't worry about it.
No, we got time.
So like for example here, like the logic like values dot length. So if you were to kind of measure the length of the cell values, why would that be important when you're doing like yes or no, like painting them in specific?
So we wanted to check every cell value that's within the array that we created here, values, this array. And so we want to go through every position inside of that array. And this is a two-dimensional array. So there's values going down and there's values going this way, like a spreadsheet. And it contains all of those position information. And so what we're doing is we're going one by one, like slowly through the entire array to make sure we catch every single value. So there's a loop to catch one direction and there's a loop to catch the other direction. And then we're going through and finding, okay, so it starts at 0, 0. Does 0, 0 equal yes? If not, come back again. We're adding 1 and it's going to go, first it's going to add 1 here. So it's going to do 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, all the way until length is equal to j. So once j gets to 100 or however many columns are, then it will start back up here again. And then this one will go to 1. And then it will go down to here and start this loop again with the value 0 and go all the way until it runs out of columns again. Then this will turn to 2, and then this will turn back to 0 and go all the way until it's out of columns, 3, and so on and so forth. So it slowly works across the two-dimensional array row by row. I think it's row by row, right? Not column by column, yeah.
And you can do that by using the length variable.
Right, so this tells me, so this is the entire length, and I'm setting that's I, and I'm saying, okay, looking at the position 0, which will return the entire first row. So the entire first row, specifically the 0 position, how long is that only? And that will say, oh, it is 1,000 or 100. And in this case, it's probably 20 or something. So it would be 0. So this would return the value 20. And so then this would slowly count up until it hits 20. And then this would increment by 1. This would be set back to 0. And then this would increment again all the way until 20. And then this would increment again, and then this would increment all the way to 20 again. And that allows you to slowly work your way through the entire sheet, the entire array.
All right.
Yeah, so we're using this as a way of saying, when you've reached this value, there's nothing left, so don't bother checking. Technically, you could set this to a number. You could set this to 20, and then it would only do the first 20 rows. You could set it to 5 and do slow. This is just a way to get a number to have the end point of when the loop should finish and then continue on. Yeah, so yeah, if you mess this value up, technically it could loop forever.
Yeah, I think like the event, for example, it didn't require any JavaScript knowledge, I think. So I think for me, it's like kind of hard to grasp easily.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You definitely need to know some programming. It's yeah.
That's why I'm asking a
Yeah.
lot of questions.
No, you don't have. You ask as many questions as you want, because then I have more to talk about, and we don't run out of time and just stare at each other. So, but so yeah, that's how this is looping, is just counting values through the array. You know, yeah, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, 4, 1, 5, all the way down through. And so that's looping each time, and then passing that to, okay, this values in this specific position in the array, 0, 1 or 0, 5, does that equal yes? Oh, it does. Well, make it green. It doesn't equal yes. Does it equal no? Yes, then make it red. If it doesn't equal either of those, in this code, nothing happens. If it's blank, nothing happens. If it's 1,000 or, you know, spaghetti, nothing happens. But you could add other if-else statements. You could do catch-all statements. You could do, if it's a string, do this, you know. But yeah, this is just a way to loop each one. I think you used for each in your code, right?
I just want to see if it worked.
Yeah, it's not picky. So that's 4 loops. All right. I left that highlighted for some reason, but yeah. You got this typed in? Okay. So this is replacing menu item 2 to this function. Have you ever used the Google Sheets presenter view? I just see. So whatever slide you're on, it gives you like the notes of that slide and then how long you've been going. And so when I change slides, it changed the notes. Which is pretty cool. It's cool. Yeah. And then I have audience tools, like I can like start a QA and have a URL and people can interact with it. Google. Pretty cool, right? Got everything. So did you have this menu?
Not yet.
Okay. So I actually really like that you're asking questions, because I took time to write notes for every single line of code.
Good.
So if no one asked questions, it would be like hours of my time wasted. So I even have a note for this line. This closes the filter method.
So for the second to last line, var filtered range equals sheet.get range.
Mm-hmm.
What are these parameters here?
Okay, so we're setting a value variable range. Okay, so this creates a new variable and sets its range, sets it to the range of cells that contain the filtered values using the get filtered range method. So yeah, get range is, I think, a predetermined like function, and I don't actually have it broken down for what each one is. I think what you're doing is you're 1, filter values length. Does it give a good pop-up?
So yeah, it looks like, okay, so the first one represents the row, second one is the column,
That makes sense.
and then number of rows.
What should we give there?
Oh, so you're basically saying start at cell 1, row 1, or column 1, row 1, and then go to the right dot length amount, and then down dot length amount. So you're grabbing that little range there?
Yeah, you're filtering it to the range, and it looks like value 0. Yeah, that should work. Because what this is doing is specifically, yeah, it's filtering to rows that have John or Jane in the first column. So it's checking essentially the first column for everything.
Oh, okay, I see.
So in the first column, does it have the word John or Jane? If it does, then filter to those rows only. And then it's setting, and I believe it's destructive. I believe it will destroy values that do not meet that criteria. Let me try it. Leave that there. 1 second, I'm gonna pull oh, that's good. Oh god, it's so big. All right. So you ready to play with it? Yeah, sure. All right, let's try. Zoom on in. All right. So just so it's not destructive, we'll add William Man 35. I think that's old I am. John 32. Jane 67. John. Oh, is it still like that? Oh. All right then. That wasn't helpful. Mary 105. All right. So if we do the extension, custom menu, submenu 1, it will find those values and filter them directly to there. And if we run it again, I think it just continues to stack. Continue to stack it. And it is destructive, so I believe if I have some stuff here, it will get destroyed. Let's find out. Yeah, it gets destroyed. The interesting thing is this is whenever you start interacting with other sheets. So you could have a named sheet here that you're talking to instead of just active sheet. You could say, this is my sheet of names. I want you to look there and then output into my active sheet all the names that have all the columns that start with this. And it'll just, bam, there it is. So it's very helpful when you're working with like large data sets and you want to play with that data. And I don't know, I think a little bit easier way to filter data. You can do filters, but because we're programmatically filtering, then we can take that filtered values and then do things to it and then output it, versus if you just do a normal spreadsheet filter, then, find the values that match what you want and then copy and paste them out. You can't it's harder to programmatically interact with those values before they're outputted. But here you could take the second row and add 2 to it or add information into column C, You'd be like, every single John has the last name Steve, and then have it automatically do it, which is pretty cool. Any questions? Huh? Oh, yeah, sorry. There you go. Ignore the highlighted part. I think I accidentally didn't change that. It's hard to make black background colored code, syntax code.
I got an alarm message saying reference error when I execute the code.
What's the reference error?
I just it's saying
what line? Let me see.
Value is not defined. Yeah. Reference.
When you run the code, do you have any Johns or Janes? I think if you have none, if you have none, then value doesn't have any values because there's nothing to play with. The first line, the first column has to have it. Well, that won't be interesting because it will just put it back to exactly where it is. Well, that one's the. What you're doing. Yes, that one's working. So put Jane and then John in 12 and 13.
Jane and John.
Yeah, Jane and John. J-O agent. J-O agent. H, yeah. And then we'll do custom menu, submenu, second item. It should pop out Jane John. So for some reason, your first script is having an error. Let's see. So this one's having an error.
I changed some code in this area.
Yeah, so that's
I don't know
right there.
what's happening.
You're missing an S from right there. So we'll save that, and then dismiss, custom menu, first item, and that should complete. There it goes. Cool.
Thanks. Well, I typed here at John Jane, the data.
Mm-hmm.
Some data appears here and some data appears here.
It's going to pull. It should pull the entire row and put it to the top.
Oh.
Yeah. So whatever secondary values you have should follow it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And every time you run it, it just stacks because I think we're not resetting the values of where it's starting. Is it anyone else have any questions? I think I have lots of fun out there. You are going to town. All right. Were you able to get it to filter?
1 second.
No problem.
You're right. I just want to see if I can access. If I can access the second sheet.
You're doing it by get active, right?
I'm getting the active spreadsheet and then I'm getting by the name of the sheet itself.
Right.
So I can get,
Cool. When you clicked over here, it's still outputted hey though, right? When you clicked on sheet 1,
so if I do that,
it should still.
yeah, just so that, because I'm accessing it by the name.
Yeah, cool. Cool. All right, I think. Yeah, my next one is just ChatGPT is really good at writing AppScript code. It's actually kind of scary how good it is at it. So I know, is it a cliche to use the most powerful tool available? I don't think so. Okay, I should probably do this on my screen. I don't know if you guys have ever used Windows Hello. It's amazing. It does like facial recognition for password management if you want, or login. Like you have Touch ID on Macs. This one, it just scans your face and does it. So like my password manager will scan my face and then unlock my password manager, which is pretty cool. Okay. All right. So we can just ask it to write in that Google Apps script, and it does a surprisingly, like, really good job. I think because Google has such good documentation, like in terms of for it to index, and the documentation honestly hasn't changed for a while, so it's very good at interacting with it. I've noticed ChatGPT really struggles with like things that change constantly, like very new technologies. It'll work off of things that just aren't even true anymore, and you're like, this code is terrible. But you know, we can just say write a Google app function that, what does it do? What do we want this function to do? And let's play around with whatever function it makes.
Generates random weather data.
Into a new sheet.
No way.
I fucking love AI, man. It's insane, isn't it?
I'm gonna go home now.
This is like just like general question. Do you think like ChatGPT is going to take over a developer's job?
I think it's, now from how it currently exists, I think it's a really amazing tool. And I think if developers aren't interacting with ChatGPT to help them code faster, they're making a big mistake. Because as long as you can read what it's outputting. Now, if you're reading that output and you're like, I have no idea what the fuck that's doing, well, then that's not a tool. At that point, that's just you trying to like shortcut. And because it outputs garbage sometimes, like even a calculator. If you use a calculator to add numbers together and you mess up, you should know, like, that's a little wrong. Maybe I did times by accident. But if you did 1 plus 2 plus 3 times 5, you would recognize right away that, oh, I made a mistake. But someone who doesn't even know what a calculator does wouldn't recognize that they press times instead of plus. So I think just like with the art AI, I think there's going to be jobs that develop that are all about making prompts that get out exactly what they need. Because, you know, I don't know if you've used art generation or anything, or any of those. They to get something really good, you have to almost learn how it wants to be talked to get the output that you want. So it's kind of crazy. All right, let's kind of. Oh, tab is so tiny. All right. Sheet. Okay. Extension. TypeScript. Let's make a new menu item. And all right, so I'm going to just go here and click add item first. Random weather, comma. Oh, needs to be wrapped in that. Okay, and then we're going to come down here, paste, and we're going to take that name, copy, paste, save. All right. Let's see. Did it do a good job? Oh, the easiest, we can refresh here to have it do the on open script automatically. You can see it takes a little bit, and then boom, custom menu. Random weather. It's making random weather. That's some pretty intense pressures. But it's pretty cool, right? I mean, it's kind of insane. Now, technically, with Google Apps Script, you could interact with an API and actually pull in real weather data and use that. We could try to ask it. APIs change a little bit more. And also, I don't think I have access to an API, a weather API, so that probably wouldn't work very well. Is there an open API that you can just call anytime for weather?
Yeah, they usually have one. I just don't know how you would make asynchronous calls in here, or whether it handles asynchronous code or not. Probably does, right? Oh yeah, there's URL fetch app.
Yeah, URL fetch app. Yeah, it's pretty. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's using openweather.maps. Do you think that URL still works? That would be insane if it works.
It might. Let's see.
Oh no, it needs an API key.
Oh yeah.
It needs a key. But that's kind of insane. Yeah, it's using the URL fetch to pull from right here from London, and you could change that to a variable and pull that all in. That's kind of insane, isn't it? And if that documentation, the data main temperature, that'd be insane if that actually works. Do you want to try?
You'd have to sign up and get an API key.
Do you think it's free?
It is, but
It is a process.
yeah, it's kind of a hassle. Is there something specific that anybody else wants to like use Google Apps Scripts for?
Oh, you have to subscribe. Yeah, it's a paid service beyond this does exist. Like this API call did actually respond saying invalid API key, which is kind of insane that that's a valid URL and it was generated by a text to speech text bot. It's insane. Do you have a function that you would love Sheets to do, anybody? And we'll see if we can generate something and play with it. I mean, the crazy thing to me is that you can just say like, can you make a example function? Oh, it's still doing the weather API stuff. So it's pretty much doing the exact same thing.
He's like, did you not read?
That's how you do it, man. Can you make the function do something else entirely? That's not how you spell entirely. Can you spell check? Okay.
E-N-T-I.
Is that it? So
Initially.
there we go. Wait, what? Oh, it's doing it to a specific cell instead of like get the temperature from the API call and then output that to that specific cell. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And what you could also do is you could do something else. You could write it as a function and then call that function within the spreadsheet. You could do equals, like a normal spreadsheet like function. You could write one in and just do equals fetch weather data, enter, and then it would run this custom function inside that specific cell. So you could pass the cell information based off of where it's being run within the script as well, which opens up a bunch of stuff. It's kind of all I had for today. Kind of ran out of stuff to do. So yeah, now it's just about if you have any questions, and also if you want to play around with ChatGPT generating insane scripts for us, because it's insane.
I mean, try making generate, like there's the API for like movie database.
Yeah, IMDb has one, right?
Yeah, so like if it can generate data from like movies and, for example, rating for like certain, let's say, like 2010 to like 2020, for example, or something like that.
Let's do the last week.
Oh.
Let's see, like more like relevant data. Yeah, OBIMP. It knows an API that does that. Okay.
Yeah, but still needs the key.
Yeah, almost everything needs keys for APIs, but
I have a key.
Oh, you have a key?
Yeah.
Oh, well, look at that. So we can see what it's doing here. Have you guys talked to APIs before? So like if we just went to here, so like this one is putting an ID at the end programmatically to help it find. So I think up here it's creating a API URL programmatically based off of today's date -6 and pulling in that information to help it. So then it will output that, takes that output from the response, and then interacts with that response to get back all the ratings for that response, which is pretty cool.
I found it. So if you want to try it, we can try it. I have the key.
You have the key? Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think it's still working, I hope. But
Do you want to DM me on Discord? Or?
it's okay. It's FC, like
One second.
not capital letters.
It's not like a complicated.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
I
I hope it works. It's been a long time.
mean, it'll be cool. I mean, worst case, it will just not do anything. But technically, it would do something. It would say error API from that. You don't have access. All right. So your API key. What is it?
FC.
FC?
Yeah, small letters.
Small letters.
FC and then 0D.
0D?
Yeah, it's all small letters.
Okay.
So FC 0D 64E0.
No, that's pretty short. I feel like you could crack that.
Right?
We're gonna steal all of your credits.
It's okay. It's working for me on my Indeed page, so it should work.
Okay, so let's make a new one called recent movies. Awesome. All right, and then we'll run on open to refresh the menu. Oh, geez. Now, one thing I can say is that this whole, this verified app thing, if you have a business account, this doesn't show up. So like my enterprise account doesn't have this error. And also the scripts run faster. So. Okay, that should add the menu. So do extension, custom, recent movies. Oh, we got this method. Let's see, details. So exception, the parameters, number, string, string do not match the method signature. Okay. Let's not think. I got this error. I apologize. The confusing utilities method requires the date, time zone, and parameter. Here's the correct syntax for this method. This should fix the error you encountered. Thanks, man. All right. So that was here. Needs one more. Did I just make it this one? Okay. Let's try it again. Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and delete that. Technically, we could make it, generate the title based off of this second or something. Let's see. Still.
ChatGPT. So you need to put a date object. So if you go back to the code, instead of doing -6, just get rid of the -6. And then the time zone, that should work.
So it's pulling the new .date should be getting, that should pull in today's date. And then -6 would be -6 days from today. Well, is that working?
I think it'll be just a date object. So you're trying to subtract 6 from
an object. So this would just get, so you're saying just new date, but that would get today?
That should return the current time as soon as you call that function, but as a date object.
Okay. What's my name? Yeah, can you run the test code? Let's see. Yeah.
Okay, so then we have an issue somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't think ChatGPT is going to replace developers.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet, no. I mean, this is a hard question.
So over there where it says json.parse, so you're getting content text.
Right, but I think it's the error is happening here, right? Because I think that's the only length.
So check and see whether or not search actually exists on data. Like if you just type in data and then do dot, it should give you some IntelliSense.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't look like search
exists. It exists.
There is search.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does exist. Yeah.
So then it doesn't.
So it's getting it to the dot length is having the error. So it's probably the response is probably like an error.
Wait, so
which has no length.
What was the error again? What did it say?
Well, it had an error on that specific length. Could not read. But what's happening is the response is in that not working. So we could try to see what this API is expecting, give it something, and then try to format this fetch better. Because I think this fetch is failing.
Yes, whatever search is undefined. So it doesn't currently exist on data when it's column length. That's what that error means.
Yeah, cannot read the properties of undefined.
So,
but if this returned a null value, like the get context text was null, then it would also be undefined as well because there's no search would not exist for a null.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So it could be completely, the only error could be in the response itself.
Mm-hmm. What I would do then is set up a few breakpoints and then run the debugger on that function.
Right.
And then step through to see what the response actually is.
Yeah. Like
we don't know what data that's.
Like we could log this real quick and see what that looks like.
If you use the debugger though, then we can kind of just step through it one at a time instead of having to
Logs into it.
logs everywhere.
That's not as fun.
It wouldn't be JavaScript code without console logs everywhere.
No, that's.
Alright, so, oh, did you set up a breakpoint there?
No, I don't think I did.
I think our data might be too detailed. I think it might only look for a year.
You think so?
Yeah, because I'm looking at the OMDFP.
Oh, you're looking at the documentation?
They say like year, so like just a year. But we are looking for like entire like details.
Because this is doing YYY. Is that correct in the documentation, or should this be like that? Are you saying that if we pass instead,
Let's see if we just pass the string.
like that equals 2023? No.
If that will work out. I'm not sure.
You have an
I remember
yeah,
working
sure.
with that and hating it.
You recommended this.
Yeah, but I was curious.
Oh yeah, you're like ChatGPT can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, see the error came over here though. That's a little annoying. Is that sometimes when you run scripts in the other, it like shows up on the active sheet instead of. Yeah, still no.
So I would,
Then let's try something.
Let's get away from APIs.
Yeah. Let's do something like so we can finish on a good note.
Right? What do you want us to finish on a good note with?
I asked ChatGPT to run like a random generation of Haribo data. So it just generated like random names of the candies and then kind of made up all of the nutritional values too. And it just gave it to me like no problem, and it works because I checked.
Wow.
Yeah.
We could have it generate Korean lottery numbers.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Illegal.
I've used it to generate lottery numbers before, and I played them, and I did not win.
Did you win?
No, I did not win. But the crazy part, I had to generate 10 sets, and out of the sets, one number was corrected. Like I had every single number, but just not all together. But it was fun. I was like, but if I asked it to generate lottery numbers, it was like, nah, I can't do that. I was like, all right, can you give me 6 numbers that are randomly between 1 and 45, no repeats in each set, 10 of them, and then it'd be like, all right, here you go. Even within the same string, it's like, this is random, like lottery numbers, but I think it might have given the disclosure at the bottom, like this, like I'm a language model, like I can't be one that. So what are the conditions of what are the lottery? I don't know if I have my lottery one over here. No, I don't have my lottery one over there. Oh yeah, I was asking about sound levels. I was like, what happened if a 300 dB sound thing happened? It was like it would break down the molecules of the atmosphere. I was like, oh my god, that's pretty cool.
I have an idea.
Sure.
I would generate a spreadsheet of all the Pokemon and all the stats.
Well, I think it would have to get that data from somewhere.
Just curious how it would handle that.
There is a Pokemon API too.
Yeah, right. How about we have it randomly create Pokemon names? No, because I don't know how it would do that programmatically.
I can't believe we're like that for this.
There is one, right? Poke API.
There's
Wait, it's
so-
free.
It's free, yeah, it's free.
There are so many cool
Yes, it
tab
Okay.
APIs.
Can you write? Can I write? To pull all the
This is hilarious.
Pokemon stats.
I'm gonna make a Pokemon Pokemon call now.
into a new sheet from, what's the URL? PokeAPI.co.
Yeah. Do you want the URL for the API itself?
I don't want to get that much. I want to work hard.
Okay.
I think it should be stats, not states, right?
You are right. Nah, fuck it. Let's see what happens. States. Look, name, height, weight.
Stats.
I guess it's a state of being. You may need to add logic to avoid hitting a. Like it even warned me about the API limitations of 1,000 requests. That's kind of crazy. All right, so goodbye movie data. Not states. And Pokemon Man. Okay. And
Wow.
There's a height and weight of a bunch of Pokemon being randomly like pulled from the. I mean, that's kind of insane, right?
Now, can anybody verify if this is true?
I mean, I recognize a lot of those Pokemon.
Yeah.
Psyduck, Mankey, Primeape.
Is that in pounds? Like,
Is that in pounds? Should I ask it? No, the
Ask it, how do you weigh a Pokemon?
weight. Pounds or kilograms. What? Hectograms?
Wow.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's right because it's outputting much better. Oh no, that might be hectograms. Well, 3,000 hectograms. But it modified it to adjust from grams to pounds based off of this formula.
Is it just making up that stuff, or is it somebody in the documentation?
Talks about the Pokemon. Ah, that's so fun. Ah, you got me.
No, it's the disclaimer, but then if you want to
If we pretend. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's really
Nah.
hectograms.
It is really
Yeah, I
hectograms?
checked the
is there a country that uses kilograms?
Pokemon World. I mean, that's pretty cool. So.
Oh shoot, I thought that was someone
No, dismiss. How many line items did this get? That's quite bad. I like how it's still called states.